Bradley, and you're listening to the Underground Railroad Radio Show. We come on in Chicago. We come on in Chicago every Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. Man, you can catch Minister Ben Willis. His show comes on, Call for Local Guides, to Can Television in Chicago. Plus, he comes on YouTube. And it's a pleasure to have Brother IX. I will always know him as Brother IX. He will be on. Maybe he has some comments tonight. And Miss Camper, our Minister Camper, our Mother Camper, will be on. And Minister Ben Willis will be on. The spokesman of the Flaming Crescent Society will be on. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about gay and lesbians. And should they have the rights of that? Talk about the LGBT, talk about them in the church, about them adopting children. And then the second part, we're going to talk about Mr. Floyd. We have an ex-police officer that will come on to talk about the code of silence, if it's God's will, at 6 o'clock hour. You know what? And the individuals that are being interviewed in the first half, perhaps they will stay around and pose questions to the ex-police officer. So how you doing, Brother IX?
Hello? I'm doing real good. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, hello? I can, brother.
Okay.
I can hear you.
I'm doing real. I'm doing real good. Anytime you're ready for me to call Miss Camper, I can call her and get her on the phone. But
you call her, and you know what? Thank you. You know, that is my engineer, and people that want their own blog talk radio show and want to have a platform. You can utilize his expertise and his skills, and pretty sure he will leave his telephone number because he's created utilizing this platform to disseminate information to that you wouldn't get on Fox Television, CNN News under normal circumstances. And Minister Ben Willis should be calling in too. Okay, you can call her. Okay.
Okay, I'm working on that while you're talking.
Okay. So that is what we're going to tackle the first hour. Should a minister be able to baptize people? Should they be able to adopt people? Is this sinful? Does this go against God, Allah's law, to conduct yourself in that manner? Are you born gay? Okay. Because of chromosomes. And you know what? This is something that needs to be discussed because, like I said, in Chicago, I'm in the United States of America. You know what? In Chicago, Illinois, we have a openly gay mayor. She appears to be doing a good job. She appears to be doing a good job from my perspective. You know, it's a couple things on the virus that I don't really care that she's doing. I don't care that they are not really the virus. She's done a good job of containing it, her and Governor Pritzker, in my opinion. But the thing that I don't like is people congregate. And I don't think that they're enforcing the law, you know, because they keep on trying to, we're going to talk to them, but at some point you have to enforce the law. So there's going to be looting, there's going to be shooting. As President Donald Trump said, which he retracted some of those words. He could have said it in a different way, but I found what he was saying to be the truth for my own self. You know, if there is going to be looting, there is going to be shooting, but he could have said it in a different way, but he is who he is. You know what? It's going to be a battle with him and Joe Biden, but you have to remember one thing about Joe Biden. Yeah, hello?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still working on it.
Okay, and Joe Biden, you have to remember about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is running for president of the United States right now. And the thing is, you have to remember, once upon a time, he sort of got along with the people that were segregationists, people that on the other side of the aisle that believe in white supremacy. Okay? And he never really said anything bad about white supremacy during that time, but he probably will say something now. But it's gonna be an interesting battle. And when you talk about things, you talk about Donald Trump. There's things that Donald Trump espouses too that I agree with. I do not believe in sanctuary city. I do not believe that somebody has the right to, that they are entitled to the same rights to somebody that is here legally. And these federal dollars that are coming into the states, I do not believe that they are entitled to that. I don't believe that. Other things that Donald Trump said, like NATO, each nation paying their own way, are helping to contribute towards the defense of their country. I am in compliance with that, but I can never sit up here and say that I agree 100% about what he says or anybody says. So I don't think that there's really anybody that could have really. I don't think that the other people on the other side could have handled the virus better. I don't think so. But there are thousands of people out there that probably would disagree with me on
3591.
Okay, and that must be Brother Minister Ben Willis.
No one's here. No one's here yet.
Oh, okay. So I don't know what happened to them, but that's what I would say about Donald. That's what I would.
563 999.
Okay.
3591. Go ahead, brother. Okay. I'm still with you.
But that's what I would say about Donald Trump. And and don't get me wrong. I believe that there is racism on both sides. I believe that also that there is a little racism in all of us. All of us. I'm not going to say all. I'm going to say the majority of us. People have said things behind closed doors that they would not want to be heard by the public whatsoever. I believe that Donald Trump is prejudiced a little. But I go back to what I originally said. I believe that the majority of us, there's a little prejudice in all of us because all of the generalizations that go around. And we have said things behind the scenes about another ethnic background that we wouldn't dare say out in public, So they get on Donald for that. But you know what? I think what he's going. I know what he's doing is bringing jobs back to America. And when you really look at the Democratic Party is always, as far as I'm concerned, is always taking the black vote for granted. They're taking the black vote for granted, and they continue to take the black vote for granted. That is something that they could. Yes.
She's on the phone now. Ms. Camper, can you hear us?
Yes. What you talking about today?
Okay. How are you? First of all, I want to welcome you to the Underground Railroad Radio Show, and I want to thank you. Thank you very much. I'm learning how to utilize this technology, and I'm struggling doing it, but that's how it is. So please, thank you for accepting the invitation. But before we get started, tell us something about yourself.
Well, not too much to talk about. Just thank God for being here, and it's a blessing in this year. It's almost like the rapture, the end of the world, all over the world. Not only are we suffering pandemic, but we're also having wars and rumors of wars among the races. So it's time now to seek God while he can still be found and call him while he's still near and know which way and which direction we want to go. And I am convinced as never before that the younger generation, they are a force to be reckoned with, and they don't have a God on their side, so it's going to really take prayer as never before.
Let me ask you before we go to the situation, talking the subject matter of gays and lesbians and the LGBT. What I would like to know is from a theological point of view, this virus and these things and catastrophes that are going on, were they meant to happen? Was it by God's permission that this is going on?
Are you talking about all the rioting?
Yeah, I'm talking about the virus and the things that are going on worldwide. Are these things happening by the will of God?
Well, everything is in the will of God. This is not the first time that the world has been touched with viruses and plagues, and it's a process of elimination because we know that it doesn't take much for the world to become overpopulated, and the resources start to dry up, and man try to help God and feel like they can help alleviate some of the pain and the suffering. Of course, we know that if we followed the rules of God and we worked in the fields and if we did what we were supposed to do, we would die a timely death. But now people are living well over 100 years old, and we're not working, and we're laying around getting fat, and we're just no use to ourselves or the world. So we're gonna have those trials.
I would say, Mother Camper, that I'm guilty of it. I'm just disseminating information. I'm guilty of it. So I'm going to get up and get on back to work, even though, even if I have to go back to school, it's okay, because you know what, education is the key. I'd like to ask you something. What, you don't mind me asking, what is your denomination in terms of theology?
Well, I was born a Baptist born, Baptist dying, but somewhere along the way, I found Jesus in my life, and I converted to a Pentecostal. And there's just so many doctrines involved in man-made religion until I resolved to that God just wants us to love one another. And that's the hardest ministry there is to love. So there are thousands of religions, and people are in all kinds of religion, but religions are forms of doctrine that eliminates some and includes others, and we have to evaluate that.
Okay, if you don't mind me asking, what persuaded you or convinced you that being a Pentecostal was a little, I guess, better than being a Baptist when we talk about theology? What convinced you? What swayed you over?
Well, at the time when I really sought the Lord and I heard about receiving the Holy Ghost and I felt the Spirit of the Lord, I heard about healing, and I heard about all the things that I heard about in their religion. They work, but also working while we're working for the Lord, the devil is working too. You got people that say they're religious, but they don't live by the doctrine. People are sneaking and under the cover doing things, and they bring a shame on the ministry. So even though the ministry is good, because of the shame that they bring, then a lot of people end up leaving. And of course, we know that they love money, So they're constantly asking for money, and it doesn't matter what position you're in. You could be an old lady with barely enough to pay your rent. They'll say, come on, give that money by faith, and that's not God. So we learn as we go.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, as we say this and we talk about God, do you think that it is possible to be born gay? I mean, do you think that that's possible? Do you think that it's a learned behavior? It's something that just happens chemically?
You know, I'm so happy that you asked that question, because I do have a couple of my sisters here, and I'd like for them to say a little something about that, because I think I take a different approach about it. But let's hear some of their views. Is it okay with you?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, then. First, we're going to have Pastor Randall. She's all the way from Forest, Mississippi, and we know that there are a lot of young men down there in Mississippi. Let's hear what she has to say.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes. Good afternoon. What's your name?
Good afternoon.
What's your name?
My name is Clifton Raheem Bradley. You could call me Clifton or Raheem, either one.
Okay, you just called me May at this time. I do have a title, but I hear you talking about why these disease and things are coming. You go to Deuteronomy 28 chapters. It says, shall come to pass if you hearken diligently to the voice of the Lord. Do you believe there's a God? You believe there's a God?
Yes.
Okay, if you read that, it says, these things shall come upon you.
Yes.
And it tells all the different ailments is coming. Then it tells if you don't, you go to about that 18th verse. It says, but if you don't obey God's will and keep His commandments and live just right, there ain't no Baptists and all those stuff going to heaven. Just right people. I keep saying all the time. If you're right, you just right. You're right and go on to heaven. But if you're wrong, you're going to hell. It's just number two. Okay. What I look at is this. He said, and walls and rooms, not in that prescription, but I do have it for you. Walls and rumors of walls. You ever hear what's happening now? Hey, I'm up here for a funeral, and I'm afraid to even go to the funeral even this week, simply because war is all in the war in the people, war in the government, war in the street, war in our young people. Why? Because and all these turmoils is coming in with ailments. And it tells us, back to Deuteronomy, it tells us these ailments going to come, going to be things come in the land that we won't even know how to pronounce the name. I never heard and I'm 81 years old, I never heard all these. They can't name it. Clouds, they can't name. Storms coming. They supposed to put people up in the cloud this week and didn't do that. Why? Because the weather didn't permit. Then it said, walls and rooms of walls, earthquakes in different places. You ever hear of earthquakes?
Yeah,
it used to be in the south.
Yeah,
earthquakes in the south. So we got to know we're in the land. And he said, in the last days, hellish times shall come. Men shall be unruly, got their own mind, their own form, their own fashion, their own thing. But you know what? Just like in the time of Noah, he said, destruction is coming into that. And it's here. We don't know where to run to. You run to the east, it's turmoil. Run to the west. Run to the north. Run to the south. But ain't nobody hiding place but in Jesus Christ. And then he's telling us about how these things come almost time for his breaking of the cloud to come back. Can't nobody take God.
Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me. But ma'am, I would like to ask you, you know what, us being religious people, do you believe that you are born gay? Is it a learned behavior pattern?
Born gay?
Yeah. You believe that you are born gay, or homosexual, or is it a learned behavior pattern?
Well, I believe if a person is not saved, they like to do anything. But if you say you don't know the difference, ain't but nothing but right and wrong. It's male and female. It's holy or nothing. So I believe what the word said. And the word said God called us male and female, Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. So when you're in the wrong direction when you go cross the fence. What can a woman do for me? And I'm a woman. What can a man do? It's nothing but pollute our bodies. You see them all messed up, and you have to have some kind of stuff to make you go into those things, dope and all this stuff. You can't just say I'm praising the Lord and then say I'm a homosexual, because God He's righteous, He's holy, He's everlasting, everlasting. You need to come to Mississippi and hear this word. I got it, but I can't maybe to you today. But hey, right is just right. It's high time to get on the herd. Don't you see that? We were on our way. We had about 4 or 5 funerals. The man couldn't. They can't even have a funeral call. We can't have a funeral long enough to sit. No more than 1 or 2 in. So, but it's time. He said this is a critical time, and he told us to come to pass. So I tell you, you don't know the Lord. Just doing right. Get on there and start doing right. That's all. All right. We got another sister here, and she's
Okay. And I like to pose the same question to the other sister. Do you believe that we're religious people? Do you believe that being gay is accepted by God? Does it go against God's law? Is it okay?
Being gay?
Yes. And being religious.
Okay.
Does it go against God's law?
Well, you know, the Bible said my yoke is easy and my burdens are light. Having grown up in the church.
I'm listening. I'm listening to you.
Her phone must have went dead. Hello?
Okay. So you know what? Let me ask Miss Camp. You know what, Mother Camp or something? Something that I know.
This is what I'm saying about this being gay.
Okay.
I wouldn't even begin to guess or speculate what brings that about, because we have free course. If you read the Bible where the man of God let those guys in, those angels, those homosexuals did not want those men. A gay man has no use for a woman. Okay, when you put 2 men together, you can't make no production. You put 2 women together, you cannot reproduce. Now, as the audience of God, male and female made them. You understand? So if you don't put a male and a female together, you're not going to make nothing. That in itself. Okay, if you can find 2 women that can lap together, 2 men that can lap together, and they produce a baby, then it might likely fit in the guy. See, flesh and blood cannot inherit eternal life. And you and me, whatever our names are, we cannot go to heaven with the attitude that our mom and daddy raised us in, because it's got to be God's way. It ain't Burger King. We ain't Burger King have it our way. We got to fit into God's way. You understand? So then, as far as being gay, that's a personal decision. Can you meet the Lord and say, "Excuse me, Lord, you know who I am. I'm going to be who I am," and still get to heaven? Fine. That's between you and God. But we got to be found doing everything that's close. And guess what? People, when I grew up, they said 99.5 won't get it. But the bottom line, God wants you to be found doing your very best. He's going to have to give us the benefit of the doubt in order to make it to judgment. Because as long as we're in our flesh, we're doing what we want to do.
Yes. And you know what?
I don't know about what causes people to be gay. And I just don't want to know. You know what I'm saying? You get lonely. If you get lonely, and I don't believe in women and me being together. I love men. Yeah. But if you put two people together and they get lonely, they just might touch.
Yes.
You know, we're just an inch away from being gay.
Mm-hmm.
You ever had a friend that you love so much you want to hug him, you want to kiss him, but it wasn't in the audience of your statues?
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah. But, you know what, Mother Camp, is something I would like to ask you about the LGBT and the gays and the lesbians. If this is what you said, what the word is saying is true, do you believe that the gays and the lesbians and all these people think that they have the ability to adopt kids?
That's another personal type question.
Okay.
Now, what do you tell your child when you're sleeping every night with the same-sex person? They get past 5 years old and go to school, and they say, all right, everybody draw a picture of your parents, and the kid got two mothers and two fathers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now, would you expose this kid? Now, even when you think in terms of we make personal decisions for a child.
Yes.
And so when a child comes in the world, you look at him and say, I'm going to name you Boo-Boo-Doo-Doo.
Yeah.
Who's living with that name? You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So when you make a decision that I am gay, and you got a child that you raised in, what identity do you expect the child to have?
Yes. Yes. I understand.
Children look. Before you teach them, they look at what the environment is. You cannot teach a child not to shoplift, and you take them to the store and you steal them.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
That shall not steal, but you steal. You understand?
Yes. Yes. And as we talk about the LGBT movement, I would like to ask you, why do they have so much political power?
Because they don't mind getting their education. They don't mind getting education. They don't mind being in leadership. Why?
Okay.
They know it's a competitive world. Now, all these things that these clubs and stuff, fleshing of what people organize.
Okay.
You don't see nowhere in the Bible about no LD, all this type of stuff. This was back in the 0 days that this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we done got so modern that we're doing these things because they're organizers. There is power in numbers. These young people in the millennium year, since 2000 especially, I grew up with homosexuals around me. Guess what? They look like a duck and they quack like a duck, but they never said, honey, child, I'm gay. But now in the millennium time, it is very important that the boy have a purse and the girl cut the hair off her head and she takes it, slapping down her breast and put a shirt on that she's trying to look like a man and he's trying to look like a girl. They didn't do that back in the past. Even when I had girlfriends that was gay, and I thought to myself, this girl is a little gay. She didn't come out of her closet, her basement, or her attic. Then as we grew up, and I said, you know what? So-and-so is like son. I didn't know it.
Yes.
It was important that they did things.
You know what, Mother Camper, when we talk about the LGBT movement, and there are ministers that will not marry same-sex. And do you think they're wrong for that? Do you think a minister is wrong for not marrying a same-sex couple?
Okay, now, this is Velma Camper. You were talking to my two sisters, so that was their opinion. Now, you're asking me, do I think a person should marry the same sex?
No, what she's saying is you as being a minister, do you feel that it will be wrong? It will go against your against your religion to marry two same-sex people that want to get married, because you have the ability to marry people. Do you feel it would be wrong?
First of all, if that person is asking me to marry them, and they've been in my congregation paying me money, and I've been taking their money, then I owe them all rights and privileges as any other member.
Okay. Now, I have the follow-up question to that is, if that is your member and they're getting married, but from what you said, this goes against your religious persuasion, but you will still marry.
No, that's not what I said. That's what my sister
that's somebody else said. Okay.
Right. What I'm saying is, if you know that person's gay and you're taking their money, then you owe them all rights and privileges in that church. If you know they're gay and there's a possibility that they're going to ask you some intimate procedures to do in the church, at that time it's when you tell them, I really will not be able to give you all the rights and privileges as any other member. You can come here, and you can worship here if you like, but then I'm not going to give you the right hand of fellowship.
You said that's what you should tell them?
Heck yeah.
If you are gay and you don't come out your closet, you don't come out your basement, and people might think you gay, but you didn't say you was gay, go ahead and work for the Lord.
I understand what you're saying. I understand. But do you
if you got those crack streets that you gay, then you should not hold office. Because little children in the church is looking at you. And if Brother Ticketbone can be gay and be on the deacon board in the choir, then they think they should be. But if you can switch all you want to. But don't profess your gayness, and then you can work.
But
the problem. You're optional.
But the lifestyle itself, would you agree that it goes against God's law?
Well, you can't say that. A lot of people do. They take the Bible and they say that you can't be a gay person and the gay people are being destroyed by the Lord. But that's between you and God. Every example of accepting God in your life between you and God.
God knows you gay.
It's between you and God. That's what's wrong with us. Too many people are judging. Too many people are judging. Oh, he looks gay. He acts gay. So he can't do so-and-so. That's not your problem.
Don't get in no leadership. Don't get in no leadership, brother.
You know what I need? Let me rephrase the question. You're right, judgment, but according to the Bible, the very words, does it go against God's law?
I'm gonna put on the floor. I might have something to talk to.
According to the Bible, what?
I would say according to the Bible. And you know what? And the deal, does it go against God's law? That's what I like to ask you. Does it go against God's law?
Well, a lot of things go against God's law. Drinking, smoking, homonging, all that goes against his law.
Yeah, I was just talking about that. Specific issue. Does it go against God's law?
The only way that it goes against God's law is that we do something abnormal. You do something abnormal. Well, let me put it like this, because a lot of people, they say, well, you shouldn't be gay because a man is having sex the wrong way, or a woman is having sex the wrong way, but a lot of normal people have sex the wrong way also. So it's just not up to us to judge people. All God requires of you is that you love them and you understand them, because he's the judge.
May I ask you a question, Mother Camper? You say it is not for us to judge them. You are correct. But has not the book already made a judgment against them? I'm saying, if you follow the book, is not the book already made a judgment in condemnation of them? I would like to ask you that. The book, I'm talking about the holy book. has the book already made a condemnation against them?
What part? What part? Are you talking about the Bible? What part of the Bible?
Yes.
There's one part in there that says it's not good for a man to touch a woman. And that's because they need to get married. How many people are touching? And they still in the church, they still doing what they want to do?
I agree, but I'm just talking about that specific issue. Has the book made a condemnation of somebody living like that? I'm not saying us judging. I'm saying, has the book already made the judgment of it? The
what
book,
part?
as the Bible already could. It's not us making a judgment, but has the book already condemned living that way? I would like to ask you that.
You need to give me a scripture.
Okay, example of when Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed because of the wicked lifestyles that they was living. So what I'm saying is the book does not glorify. It does not glorify. Man was made for woman, and woman was made for man. Okay, I don't know exactly what scripture that is, but I'm saying is, you said we're not to judge, but the book has already made a judgment against people doing that. Would you agree with that or disagree?
Well, let's go back to your scripture. Number one, when God made man, and what happened? He came up on man and found out that man was too involved with the animals that he gave him. Now, remind yourself, you still got men having sex with animals. You got women having sex with animals. And God said, this ain't going to work. So then that's when he made a companion, somebody comparable to the man. And even at that time, women were not where they could conceive until after the sin.
Yes.
And Sodom and Gomorrah, number one, I just have to be frank with you. The most powerful thing in the world is a man's dick. If it was not good, nobody would ever even reverence it. A man has power. And it's so powerful until another man knowing the power seeks after that power. Yes.
And, as we talk about gays and lesbians, in Chicago, we have a openly gay mayor, which I commend her. She's not hiding it. Okay, but do you think that it sets a bad example for people having a gay mayor and her being openly gay and being the mayor of Chicago?
People voted her in, but I'll say this. If she was not a powerful person, a powerful force to be reckoned with, some man would have that job. But usually men are lazy. They don't want to be in the forefront because it's too much work. The average girl is faster and smarter than a boy because she gets up and gets the job done. A man sits back and he don't do what he's supposed to do, and therefore he loses his reverence, his strength, and his power. I think she's doing an extraordinary job in the field that she's in. It has nothing to do with her sex or her nature. She's the mayor. It's just that she's wearing that title of female, but we have to look at the fact that we voted for her because she was a strong person and she was good for the job.
And you know what? You have made it may not have been you. It may have been somebody else that said that they should not. What people that do that, they should not be able to adopt children. And what type of messages do you think is going through their daughter's mind? I don't know if it was you that made this statement. So I'm clarifying it. So somebody said that was wrong. So what type of messages do you think is going through the mind of that child watching two females cohabitate as husband and wife?
Well, I think somebody else said that because I don't even agree with that. Because what kind of relationship in a normal male and female relationship, marriage, if they don't reverence each other, treat each other with respect, then what's going through the child's mind?
Hey, brother, can I ask a quick question?
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
I'm gonna direct this question to anybody that want to answer it, especially all the three pastors over there. According to the Bible, Jesus had 12 disciples. He traveled all over the world with them. One of his disciples loved him so much that he cut a soldier ear off that was trying to arrest him. He went on all these different trips with him, up in the mountains with him. It was just Jesus and his disciples. One lady even wanted to offer herself to Jesus, and he told her no. Now, the question I have is, if I told you that same story, but took Jesus and Peter's name out of it, there was a guy I know named Mike with 12 guys, and they hung together all the time and traveled all the time. And Mike really loved Steve and cut a guy in the ear for it. Does that sound almost like Jesus was a homosexual?
Go ahead.
I think that's a good question, Reggie, because you're exactly right in your thesis, but you have to realize that God has called people in the world, calling them eunuchs, and they've been sanctioned to go into the world, and they don't have any natural use of their organs. In the beginning, when kings and different royalty and people that had a lot of women and had harems, they castrated men also and put them there so that they could watch over the women. They would have all the strength and all the values of a man, but they wouldn't have sexual relations. So a person could very well live in a commune with other men and not have sex. But then the devil's job is to kill, steal, and to destroy. So he brings that lust. And when the lust comes on, it brings sin. And when sin comes on, it brings death. Because we all have to die. And if you die and you come before the Lord, it doesn't matter who you know. It doesn't matter who's there to sin for you. Then God would say, okay, then, in hell you lift your eyes because you did so-and-so. It's just like when we're being raised in families where you find older children abusing younger children. Well, my God, one day that kid's going to grow up and look you in the face and say, do you remember when you used to sexually abuse me? So these things look you in the face eventually.
That was the first time I ever heard me. God.
The homosexual. Pastor Randall want to have a remark on that.
You wasn't no homosexual. that when God created heaven and earth, he didn't say nothing about no two homo men or women together. He comes from the form.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. Okay.
Right. That's the Bible said. The Bible does not believe. You know what kills me is when people say something in regards to that. They say you should not judge, but the very book that you believe in has already made a condemnation of. So if you believe in that book and you believe in those words, it's not you judge. The book has already made the judgment already. Would you agree with that? I disagree with that. Hello?
We're here. Yeah,
okay.
we're here. I heard the question.
Okay. What I'm saying is if the book, you're not judging, if the book has already made a condemnation against that act in the book that is saying that it is wrong, How could you say it's the person making it? You're saying it's wrong. If the book that you believe in said it is wrong, you're supposed to stand behind your book. If I'm wrong, correct me.
Well, you have all kinds of interpretations of the Bible. Matter of fact, the Bible's been written over and over and over and over and over and over. Yeah. So everybody's got a different interpretation, but in the end, we have to live with what we decide to live with. What you've done, only the works that you've done for Christ are going to last. So that's what you have to live with. How many times have we done a lot of the things that are in the Bible, like give to the poor, go out into the highways and hedges, help our neighbor, I'll cut your grass and you don't have to give me anything. I'll bring you some food and you don't have to go to bed with me. You don't have to pay your rent this month, but I'm not going to sleep with you. So we have other Christian duties to do, and God gives us credit for those duties that we do.
But you know something, Mother Camper, I'm not, talking about an array of things. I was just talking about one specific issue. That's that one specific. You're right. There are many other things, but I'm just talking about that one specific issue. If the book has condemned it, you have not condemned any book thing. The book has already made condemnation. The book, it's not you. So if you believe in your book, it's not you making the condemnation. Your book has made the condemnation of it. That's if you believe in your book, But I understand what you're saying, But perhaps I take things too literally. I always believe that my book makes a condemnation of it. I make a condemnation of it, but I was not talking about these other issues. I was only talking about that one specific issue. Just that one specific issue. So I understand what you said. So by saying
if the Bible say things like man should not lay with man, women should not lay with women, what I'm saying is you read the Bible and then you don't judge. Because you don't know the circumstances of what a person is going through.
But would you agree that you do not judge, but you do agree that the book has already made a condemnation of that act? The book has already made a condemnation of that act. So if you believe in your book, you will believe that that's wrong. See, if you thoroughly...
Well, let's put it like this. If you have a car accident, and you go to jail for 5 years, and you are sexually active, because we know that if you never touch anything, you don't have that desire. You're sexually active, you go to jail for 5 years, you're in a cell with another man, and you guys like each other, you're going to have sex. You may be a Christian, you may love the Lord, you may sing songs of Zion on Sunday. But if you have sex, then you're in the same state that you lied with a man. So what are the results of that? God's going to judge you for what you did.
Yes, it is wrong. It is wrong. It is wrong. But see, when I make the statement that it is wrong, it is not me. It is the very book and the foundation that I stand on has already made the condemnation. So if the book has made the condemnation, that's not really me. That's not really me. That's the very foundation that I'm trying to stand on. I'm only talking about a specific issue. I'm not talking about any other issues. I'm just talking about that specific issue. If your book has made a condemnation of it, it's wrong and it goes against God's law. And that is a sin. That one issue. I'm not talking about any other issues, though. Just that one issue. And we talk about gays and lesbians So we do not judge. Do you believe that the gays and lesbians, if they stay without atoning, that they will go to heaven?
Well, it's not up to me. Go ahead, Reggie.
I want you to answer the question after he gets through. I want to say something real quick. I noticed that we keep talking about the book. From my studies, if you go back to the pharaohs, I believe the pharaohs practice homosexuality. I believe the Gentiles practice homosexuality. And then if you go to the Torah, I believe certain pieces of the Torah practice homosexuality or the defecation of a man and the make other men be into their will. So when you go to King James, from my understanding, King James was a homosexual or he practiced homosexual acts. So when you keep saying the book, every author of a book has some kind of credibility of who wrote this book. Now, when you talk about spirituality, to me the question is, when two men have sex, do any of them feel in their spirit they was wrong? Because if you know something is wrong and you still practice it, you're practicing something that you know is wrong. And you really can't say a book told me to do it. You got to say what the Spirit told me to do. That's my comment. And while we're talking about this, your caller, your 872, arrived. So I'm gonna leave that to the floor. And 872, I'm gonna turn your mic on so your mic is hot while they talking. So it's back to you, Brother Cliff.
Okay, so you know what? The caller could come on in. I know we have another caller coming in for 6 o'clock hour, but you can let the caller get in and comment.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, Brother Cliff. Brother Red, it's good to hear from you, Brother Red. Yes, I had a little technical problem. I had the wrong phone number. I've been searching around. But I'm going to try to get in here. I know it was in reference to the LGBTQ community and homosexuality. That's promoted very heavily right now in the United States, especially. And that's been and that's a touch and go situation. One of the things that I have a real big problem with that community is when they try to align their being a homosexual against the plight of black people. They try to align that, to align that with it, and there's no way that you can put that or compare anything that happened with the sojourn of black people in the United States of America. There's nothing that compare. And then when you try to compare your bedside manner, that has nothing to do with the struggles that has gone on and still going on. And as we look at today, when we see what happened to that brother that got killed, I don't care if you are a person that is homosexual and you're black, it's a good chance they're going to kill you because you're black, not because you're gay. And your white counterpart in that measure, they can go back in the closet and be saved because of the color of their skin. And that's just a reality. That's just a reality. I remember. Listen, I'm gonna let you know how deep this is. I can remember coming up in the '60s that if you was homosexual, you might get killed. Yeah. You might get killed. The guys used to, for sport and play, they used to go and say, let's go on the north side and beat up homosexuals. That was for sport and play. A lot of guys would just do that, just to go up there and beat them up and kill them and stuff like that, which is, I cannot, that's so heartless, but that was the reality. And so a lot of them were afraid to come out of the closet from the part of getting harmed, getting killed. It's pretty bad. But I'm not homophobic, and I'm not, I'm not homophobic by no stretch of the imagination. And but I just feel that you can't align yourself. You can't align yourself with a male and a female relationship. There's just no way you can do that. I don't care how you try to twist it. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. And you can't push that on me because that's unacceptable. I'm not accepting that.
Brother. Brother Raheem.
Yes.
Would you like me to open everybody call up? If you have another caller on, would you like me to open everybody call or keep it on hold?
We got another guest coming up, but open it up. Thing is, we're gonna talk about what happened with the police. Whether you know the police, you can talk about what it's like and how it exists.
Okay.